Hello, everyone. Welcome to this, rather spontaneous afternoon stream, which I normally don't do, but, it's a Friday, it's a wonderful day, and I figured why not? I am joined today by my dear twin, Kaiju Kim, um, who often bonds with me over a whole variety of different things, not just Godzilla, but many different things. So we are particularly excited to have a conversation today about Godzilla as an escape from depression of sorts. Because, like, obviously, being diverse people with like different mental health journeys, like sometimes Godzilla's been that go to for us when it comes to needing to get away from difficult thoughts or the mental health shifts that we tend to go through. So but before we talk about any of that, Kim, how have you been doing, my friend? What have you been up to?
I have just been trying to survive my personal mental health struggles. Honestly, that's basically my daily struggles, just like getting up in the morning, getting dressed, going through life, being a human. Although I'd very much rather be a cat, if we're being honest with if I'm being honest.
If that ain't a whole mood, I don't know what is. Like, I have days where I want to be a cat and just lay around all day. And then I have days, mental health wise, where I literally want to be Godzilla destroying a metropolis. Like,
Same.
just raw, angry.
Yeah, yeah. Like some days I'm just like go, 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 and then the next day I'm just like nope. Mm-mm.
The next day I want to throat punch a kaiju, angrily. It's just, it can be such an interesting thing to navigate. Likewise, for me as well, I've been um, struggling with my own like little mental health difficulties. Not so little some days, depending on the day. Um, I know many of you have watched my channel over the past year. I've started therapy. I'm on medication. Found out that I am bipolar, so that's fun. And I've been navigating that. And I will say that even though like I'm getting help, like mental health still gets to me. It's still something that happens from time to time. But thankfully, we have other small things to rely on, to fall back on, like Kaiju films and music, right? Music that we love. So, um, before we talk about like the bulk of our mental health conversation, though, Godzilla's birthday is coming up, like
Yes, it is.
really fast. Like in my
How should
opinion,
we celebrate?
I know, right? Like in my opinion, here is how holidays go for me. It goes Halloween. November is Godzilla Celebration Month, and then the Christmas, Yuletide, so on and so forth holidays. Like I skip right past like Thanksgiving and stuff. I'm just like Godzilla all month of November.
All
So
Godzilla, all the time, always. That's my motto.
1000% same here. So how do you plan on celebrating?
I'm actually going to be busy like on the day of Godzilla's birthday. Unfortunately, I wanted to go to the screening at the Alamo Draft House of Gojira on the big screen, but I'm not going to be able to go because I'm busy. But I will be seeing. It's kind of like a belated celebration. I will be seeing the screening of Godzilla 1985 and Godzilla vs. Biollante. It's a double feature. Very excited about that.
I'm so jelly. Like I really want to see I want to see that so bad.
I know. Hey, same movies on the big screen.
I mean,
Yay.
like you and I could go on and on about how much we love the Heisei era, right? So
Yeah, yes. So last year for Godzilla's birthday, I made a birthday cake for him. I made a video about it on
I
my
think I
channel.
remember that. That is beautiful. Like that
The
makes
cake tasted horrible, but it was fun.
you know what? It's the gesture that counts. I'm sure Godzilla would have been grateful regardless, right?
Yeah, it's the
So
thought that counts.
right. We have Arby here. We have Leo here so far. I don't stream at this time of day typically, so we probably will have some people trickling on as we go through the stream. But for me, the way I plan on celebrating, I'm fairly sure I have Godzilla's birthday off. Um, I think isn't that like a Wednesday? Yeah,
Mm,
I have it. Well, I don't have it off. I work from home, but I will have like the breadth of the afternoon to do what I want to do. So I'm going to probably pour a glass of wine. Well, who needs a glass? I'll just have a bottle of wine, um, make some popcorn, and I'll probably either watch the original Gojira film or Shin Godzilla, one of the two. Those two have been like my go-tos for Godzilla's birthday for like the past few years. Although now that you've mentioned the Return of Godzilla and Godzilla versus Violante, I am really tempted to watch those two.
Do
Maybe
it.
maybe those will be, you
Have
know,
don't just watch like one or two. Like have a whole freaking marathon
you
if you have
know,
the time.
right, right. So my goal, and I can't, I think I've mentioned this to you, but I can't remember off the top of my head. My goal is to get my partner into Godzilla in some way.
Mhm.
And he's watched the MonsterVerse films, right? But he
Mhm.
has not watched Shin Godzilla yet, and my goal is to get him to watch Shin Godzilla because he doesn't really have a lot of interest for the older films because he's not the huge Godzilla nerd that we are, right?
Mhm.
Um, but I'm hoping that maybe if I can get him to watch Shin Godzilla, that might be like his little gateway film into watching the older Japanese films. I will keep you updated on my luck with that. Thus far, I have not had much.
Oh boy.
Let's just be honest. How about your significant other? Does your significant other love Godzilla?
He doesn't love Godzilla, but he will willingly sit with me and watch a Godzilla movie every once in a while.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. If I like for my partner, his go-to Godzilla film to watch is the 2014 Legendary Godzilla.
Mhm.
Mostly because he finds the main character hot, which I can't blame him. I
I
do too.
I mean, I guess I can see that.
I mean, but I'm like, of course, whenever he says that, I'm just like, but the story, the character development, the musical score, and I'm like cringing and frothing at the mouth when I say that. So, so dramatic, right? Um, so RP is like, this is an awesome surprise. I know, right?
I know. I'm amazing. I
It's always a gift to be able to stream with you, my friend.
know. Aw.
Leo says I made a Godzilla avatar as an extra player character on Animal Crossing, so I know what I'm doing on his birthday.
Nice.
Most impressive.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
All of my kaiju player characters have birthdays on their movie debut days. How organized. Like,
Mhm.
I do appreciate Animal Crossing, the fact that you can kind of like customize so many different things. So, oh, another thing I plan to do on Godzilla's birthday, I'm going to be playing the Xbox version of Godzilla Save the Earth
Oh,
as
okay.
much as I can because I recently got my old ancient Xbox working again and found an old version, like a really worn version of Godzilla Save the Earth, and I've been playing it and it's been amazing and I love that game so much. What do you have a favorite Godzilla game?
Um, I guess off the top of my head, I would say Godzilla Unleashed for the Wii because I got to play Violante, my girl.
She's a queen, isn't she? I like, I love flailing around with her and just destroying everything.
It's the best.
I think that game was really underrated. We could have a whole nother stream about Godzilla games, which we
Mm.
that's actually kind of an interesting idea. We should probably do that at some point. But yeah, like I think like if you are wanting to celebrate Godzilla's birthday out there, like watch a film, play a game, muse and reflect on Godzilla's significance in pop culture and history, so on and so forth. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Godzilla and mental health. And I will start our conversation for this, but we like Kim and I wanted to get together to have a conversation about how Godzilla has really helped us on the mental health front in the past because we both have been on our own journeys with different mental health struggles as we've established. And in many of my darkest times, Godzilla has been definitely an escape for me, where I've been able to watch a film or write a piece of fan fiction or whatever, and just kind of like pull myself away from those reality challenges and trials that I was having and just focus on something that just gets me away from it. Now, for me, I started realizing that I had some significant mental health difficulties when I was a late well, not no, when I was like a preteen and into my teenage years, right? Depression and anxiety happened more frequently than I would like to admit, and it just escalated and escalated until, of course, now I've been diagnosed with, bipolar disorder. But when I was like my youngest, I remember being like 10 or 11 years old and being bullied at school horribly, because I was short, I was little. Um, People assumed I was gay. So, like, all of that, those were variables in the bullying, right? Well, I discovered the film Godzilla's Revenge. And unfortunately, this film tends to get a lot of hate for Godzilla
Mhm.
fans because it is really campy and it's what 70% stock footage and
Mhm. Yeah.
there let's just it's not a perfect Godzilla film by any stretch of the imagination. But the message that it has with regard to like bullying and overcoming bullying was like really empowering for me at the time. So I remember that film becoming like my first Godzilla escape when I was a kid, essentially. I would watch this kid on this movie who was being bullied. I would watch, Minya who was getting bullied by, different kaiju around Monster Island. And them overcoming it was like a very powerful thing for me to look to when at that point in my life I was just like I don't even want to get up and go to school anymore, like it's horrible, right? So that kind of gave me that motivation that I needed to in order to move forward, or at least try to stand up to my bullies. Didn't always work. I don't always subscribe to the philosophy of standing up to bullying because it doesn't always work out the way you expect.
Mhm.
um but like that was probably my earliest example of how um a Godzilla film became a mental health escape for me. Can you think of your earliest example?
Well, I mean, Godzilla's always been an escape for me, like in many aspects. Like, well, with movies in general, like I like to just sit back and relax and, kind of visit, a fictional universe for a few hours. And so I don't want to think and use my brain too much because I do that enough during my day-to-day
Same.
life. Okay.
Same.
But like, with Godzilla specifically, it's like hanging out with a friend that you've known for a long time, like I've been watching Godzilla movies pretty much fresh out of the womb. Okay. So like
You just rolled straight out of there with a Godzilla right on the screen. I love that.
I come out of my mom and yep, there's King Kong versus Godzilla on the screen. That's basically what happened.
That is
No.
amazing.
No, but yeah, it's familiar. It's something that I've always known, and in a strange way, it's comforting. That's something you need when you're struggling with depression. You want something familiar to be around, and so you want something comforting. And I guess for me, I find comfort in the nostalgia. And Godzilla reminds me of a time in my life where things were easier, and I didn't have all this stress and pressure and bills and rent and. Ugh. But I was
Yeah,
happier back then. And yeah, Godzilla has gotten me through some tough times for sure.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, like um it's interesting because obviously when I was a kid, I would gravitate to that one specific film. I loved all of the films, don't get me wrong, but Godzilla's Revenge really stuck out at me. I do remember my first Godzilla film I ever watched was Godzilla. Oh, what the hell was it? Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, the Showa version.
Mhm.
And seeing Godzilla team up with another monster and, overcome this horrible thing, like that was a pretty gory Godzilla film for me to begin with. Like honestly, like I remember when I watched it for the first time, I was kind of like just dumbstruck. I was just like, what is happening? Why?
Oh.
Like there's blood squirting and there's,
There was a lot of blood
It's
in
like
that
this
film.
this Gamerification of Godzilla, you know, because in every Gamera film, Gamera's being sliced and diced and stabbed and prodded and
Yeah. Oh,
amputated, and
poor camera.
I know. But then, of course, this started happening more in the 70s Godzilla films. But I digress. I'm getting off topic. What else is new? But I really saw that teamwork, and I was just like, oh my god, like seeing Godzilla join forces with someone else to overcome this horrible thing, like maybe I can do that. I mean, I wasn't thinking of it in that succinct of a way when I was a kid, but like I was making rudimentary parallels, I would say, you know. Um Leo says, I just locked onto Mothra so much as a child growing up. I don't remember everything growing up due to trauma, but I have positive and vivid memories um, of Mothra specifically. And yes, for sure. Uh, I love that you mentioned Mothra. You probably were like, why hasn't Donnie said anything about Mothra yet? What is happening in this world, right?
Mhm.
Um, Mothra definitely, I would say, as I grew more into my teenage years, became an escape for me. The 90s Mothra trilogy, notably, became a huge escape, but also the Heisei Godzilla films. I really loved looking at this character as this this thing symbolizing complete goodness, you know, sacrificing herself even though when she knows she may not be able to win, like that like really resonated with me in some fashion, right? um because like I felt like due to bullying at that time, I was overcoming or I was making a lot of sacrifices in my social life because I didn't want to connect with people, right? Because I was too
Mhm.
afraid to. So Mothra definitely became that as I grew up more so. But yeah. Is there um is there a specific character in the Godzilla franchise that you gravitate toward when it comes to like mental health or can really relate with?
Hmm.
I know that's kind of like a spontaneous question, but it just came to my
I don't
mind.
do well with spontaneous questions.
I know I'm
Um,
horrible.
how dare you? um, I don't know. I guess what's her name? Is it Akane from Godzilla against Mechagodzilla?
Yes, love her.
Yeah,
Tell me
she
about
goes.
how.
Yeah, she goes through like this like regret and like depression throughout the film, and it's not till later on in the film where she kind of snaps out of it. But um,
Mm.
yeah.
That's actually a perfect example. And if Alyssa Goji Geek ever watches this, she's gonna be like, "Yes, they're talking about Akane because I know she's one of her favorite characters." But those are the films that really got me when I was like in my mid to late teens when it comes
Mm.
to like mental health. Like I was really going through a lot of depression and anxiety at that time, and Akane really struck me because like she was a character who seemed very broody at the beginning. She clearly had trauma associated with an event. People were bullying her actively in the film, treating her horribly. Um and the entire first film in that duology of films is her, you know, discovering her self-worth through the eyes of a child, right? And her father who has an odd crush on her, but that's besides the point. Um And by the end of the film, we get to see that she does reach that point where she is like, oh, I am valid. I am here. I am capable. Yes, this bad thing happened and these people were horrible to me, but she still got through all of that, right? And ultimately saved the day, which I'm one of those people. I'm always like cheering on the underdog because of mental health reasons. Like I've always felt that way. I've always felt like that misinterpreted angsty person, right? So
Yeah.
being able to see her being that misinterpreted angsty person also go through all of that and then come out on top, I was just like, a win for the underdogs. Yes.
Yay.
Like we need that. We need it so much. Um, but I like I also kind of feel that way about Godzilla Tokyo SOS though too. Mostly like I didn't feel like the characters were as good in that film in my opinion, which is alarming for me to say considering Mothra's in that film. But um what's his name? Oh, Chujo. I think that's his name.
Shujo.
Yeah, the Yoshi Chujo, I think. Yeah, that's his name.
Yeah.
Um, the engineer, he's super socially awkward, like, and he's definitely kind of an other, right?
Yeah.
So, like, these films kind of take on this dynamic of like, oh, um, there are these people who are placed in this category of being othered, and they are making a difference, or they're doing something, or they are taking on a central role in a film, right? Um, so in a nutshell, those the escapes that I've gone to mental health wise and film wise. Talk a little bit about your history with mental health and which films you've gravitated toward if you'd be interested.
All right, cool. So I haven't been officially diagnosed with anything, but I have shown like a lot of symptoms of depression. Like loss of interest in doing things I used to enjoy, like, staying in bed all day, neglecting my hygiene. Not today though, but I took a shower and my hair looks fabulous. Um, but
You do
yeah,
look stunning as always.
thank you. You're welcome. Okay. But yeah, so lately I've just been feeling like, I'm kind of burnt out with life, I just don't feel like existing anymore. And it's just not a good time for anyone. It's gotten worse this past year and a half, not only because of the pandemic, which I think it's safe to say negatively affected everyone's mental health,
Right.
but yeah, I've gone through some major life changes in the past, like, what, 20 months now? Almost 2 years. I got laid off from a job that I really liked. I lost my mom to colon cancer. Now my brother hasn't been feeling well these past few months. But on a happier note, I got engaged a little over a year ago. Moved to a new apartment. For those of you playing at home who were here from the last time I was on Downey's channel, why am I in a different location? Is because I moved. Uh,
And I have to say, you've done a wonderful job decorating this space, as I knew
thank
you would, though.
Thank you. This is my nerd corner. I'm in the corner of my living room. This is my nerd corner.
I don't have my nerd corners not in view. Like my nerd corners like over in this direction, but I do have Amy Lee and
Oh
Chester
yes, I see
Bennington.
her.
So
I
like
see her, the
it's my
queen.
musical nerd corner.
That counts. That's nerdy.
Right. But anyway, I'm interrupting you. I apologize.
That's
Keep
that's
going.
totally fine. But yeah, one of the things that has really kept me going is the Godzilla community. Like not just the movies, which I'll get to in a minute, but yeah, the Godzilla community. Like there's some bad eggs, of course. Obviously, there isn't any community, but there are also some really awesome people like you, twin.
Oh, well, right back at you, sis.
Aw. But yeah, so as far as Godzilla movies that have, helped me, get through stuff, like if you've been subscribed to my channel for a while and you've watched my live streams, you know that my favorite Godzilla movie of all time is Godzilla 2000. So I always go to that one. I also love Godzilla versus Megalon, King Kong versus Godzilla, Godzilla versus Biollante, Godzilla 1985. Those are my top 5 favorites.
Phenomenal selections.
Yes.
So Godzilla 2000 is your favorite. What makes that one your favorite?
Mostly the nostalgia. It's the first real Godzilla movie I saw on the big screen.
Oh yeah, I think I remember you telling me about that now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've had this conversation. Pay attention.
I know I need to get my shit together.
It's been a rough year. Things come and go in your brain. It happens.
Story of my life. I have the memory span of a parsnip 90% of the time, so
And I have the attention span of a squirrel, so I'm right there with you.
another reason why we're basically twins in
Yep.
every way, right? I love it.
I love it. I love it.
So, talk a little bit more about like I was very intrigued by you mentioning the Godzilla community because I also feel like the Godzilla community has been very instrumental in being an escape for me too. Like, how has it been an escape for you, specifically the community itself?
Well, so before I revived my YouTube channel, I didn't really have anyone to talk about Godzilla with. Like, I kind of had it with my dad, but he's more on the fast forward to the monster action side of things. Um, so I didn't really have anyone to like really nerd out with and get into the nitty gritty of all the production details and the plot and all that. But
Mhm.
yeah, um, even when I went to G Fest in 2018 and 2019 with my fiance, who was still my boyfriend at the time, I didn't really try to connect with anyone because I'm so much of an introvert. And I was just too busy soaking in the fact that I'm surrounded by my people, you know, and I didn't really try to connect with anyone. It wasn't until COVID, when COVID hit and quarantine happened, I decided to revive my channel and actually make an effort to reach out to other kaiju fans. And I ended up making some really awesome friends like you and the guys from Kaiju Weekly podcast, Laura Ficken from the Review Roulette podcast, Matt Burkett from Monstrosities, and so on. And like the people I've met in the past year and some change aren't just text and pictures on a screen, you know, like they're people, like real people who genuinely care about my well-being, you know, and that's awesome. And
Mhm.
that's something that's helped me. Like just knowing that someone genuinely cares about you is a really powerful thing. And I don't think I would have those people in my life if it wasn't for Godzilla. So thank God for Godzilla.
You know, I love that, and I relate with that so much. Especially during the pandemic, the Godzilla community has really gotten me through it. Like you and Alyssa, and like my followers who also love Godzilla. But I really like I'm looking back on the past like 20 years of my life, and I got into the online Godzilla fandom in like 2003. That's like a million years ago.
Yikes.
Um, by joining message boards, like I would join a lot of different message boards, like Kaiju File, Toho Kingdom, Monster Zero. I don't know if any of these sound familiar to you. Um, but because I think you may have been in the online fandom after message boards became like a huge thing, probably.
I mean,
But
like I was in message boards, not for Godzilla specifically, but for like other things.
for other genres, yeah.
Yeah.
So like those became like my first connections. Like I met my friend Cindy, who goes by Stream of Awareness on here, through Kaiju File, and we're like really close friends now. Um, and I eventually went and created my own Godzilla like message board and website, which still is around these days. It's called Kaiju Galaxy. P.S. You guys should join if you were listening. Um, not to do a shameless plug for that, but um, like just kind of developing a small community just really helped me humanize the experience of being a Godzilla fan a little bit more and to understand that, there are fellow humans other than myself who obsess over such things. But I think once social media made it easier to connect with people, especially over the last couple of years, that's when like the community really has done a lot for me. Um, like I've been able to collaborate with so many wonderful people, like you included, right? Like and have these conversations in live time that a lot of people can connect with in some way and enjoy, and to kind of normalize two people or more having a conversation about something that we love. Like that is very refreshing to me because in the past I've been in a lot of different social circles where people have kind of scoffed at any mention of Godzilla. Like, oh, there goes Donnie again
And like,
talking
oh,
about,
here we go again, nerding
like,
out.
oh
Yep.
God, here
Yep.
goes Donnie,
I've had those people.
being a flaming homosexual, talking about Mothra, his queen again. And literally exact quotes. Except now I'm proud of that, but I digress.
You should be.
Toku Society's here.
Hey,
Hello.
Token Society.
Um, but yeah, the community being able to kind of create that space where there's like no shaming is really nice. I know, like, kind of like you mentioned, like there are bad apples in the Godzilla fandom, and you know me, I'm very vocal about those. But I ultimately know that the fandom is a positive place with wonderful, creative, and fun people, and that's been a growing experience for me over the years, when it comes to finding an escape for mental health. So, but let's talk a little bit about the Godzilla films we think have the best mental health messages. So we
Hmm.
both have already talked about Godzilla's Revenge and the Kiru saga. Are there any other ones that you can think of off the top of your head?
Hmm.
Because I've been like really hyper focused on trying to think of them myself.
This might take a while. Let me look over at my Godzilla tower over there with
You
my
look at your
DVDs and
Godzilla
VHS.
Tower, and I think I have something happening in my brain.
Okay,
Surprising, I know.
make it happen. Make it happen.
There,
I
there,
believe in
there's
you.
a spark that's about to happen, maybe.
I believe in you.
Um, I'm so grateful for that. So this isn't necessarily like a mental health message specifically, but like sometimes when you see the things that characters are going through, you can kind of like resonate with them in some way. Like I'm thinking of the film GMK off the top of my head, the character Yuri and the fact that she spends most of the film people like just like obviously I cannot relate to the sexism bit because there is sexism obviously so aimed at her from other characters, but she's underestimated a lot. Like she's trying to document these things. She's trying to draw awareness to the fact that Godzilla is this, you know, amalgamation of spirits who have died, right? And she left and right, people are just scoffing at her, not taking her seriously, so on and so forth. And I remember being able to really relate with that because I always felt like people never took me seriously. Sometimes I still struggle with that. So if I need like an escape with regard to that specific type of thing, I watch GMK. Is there one you can think of?
Not on the top of my head. I need more time to think. I'll probably think of something after we, go off the air, but
Well, that just means we'll have to do a Godzilla as a Depression Escape 2.0, which me, I'm more than happy to do.
okay, I'll do
Um,
it.
see, the thing is, in Godzilla films, any like escape or movie with a mental health message, like the mental health message obviously takes on like a very, very small morsel of the film. It's not like they're not like the huge central aspects of the film. Like it's not like Godzilla doesn't stroll up on screen. It's like, well, I have mental health difficulties. Here's how I'm going to cope with them. Mothra therapist flies in, and that's not how it works. So, although that might be an interesting, kids
We should
show.
make that happen. I have film equipment. I can make that happen.
Toho, if you take that idea, I demand royalties for that. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Um, but the one thing that for me, uh, with regard to Godzilla having mental health messages that I've kind of thought of as I've gotten older, because of my career area and the fact that I'm a writer and I overanalyze things on a regular basis, including my own mental health. But I really have become very intrigued by Godzilla's character. Like I don't view Godzilla as just being um this lumbering, mutated saurian creature. Nor do I of course see him also as a metaphor for, the destruction associated with like nuclear energy and radiation and violence. But I also look at him as this creature who has been othered in a way, if that makes sense, right?
Hmm.
Like throughout so many films, people are misinterpreting Godzilla's intentions. They are acting violently toward Godzilla in some instances when he can't help the fact that he's destroying something because he's gigantic, right? Um, and like I can kind of relate with that in a way, like this being othered, right? Like being misinterpreted in that specific way. So like now whenever I watch Godzilla, especially like Shin Godzilla, for
Yeah, I was just gonna
example,
say Shin Godzilla is a good example of that,
right? Because we
especially
don't
the Who Will Know scene.
right, yes, exactly. And the thing is, like, especially in Shin Godzilla, Godzilla looks like he's in pain. Look at the state of his mangled body, right? Um, we don't know why he came into existence. I mean, it's, there are theories all around, right? And I think the film deliberately kind of leaves that open. But like, we don't know what his motivation is. He could just be moving from one point to another, can't help where he is, and is attacked, is
Yeah, like
frozen,
I always say, like Godzilla's just going for a stroll. He's not trying to hurt nobody. He's just going for a walk, and then these people keep shooting at him. It's like the equivalent of ants throwing crayons at me. I'm like, stop.
exactly. Oh, another film that really hits me with regard to that is Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla 2 from the Heisei era.
Mhm.
All Godzilla wanted to do was to retrieve his kid.
Yeah, dude. Like
And
you took his kid to this
right.
facility or whatever, and you're surprised that he's coming to get him. Like, what are you doing?
It's like like I firmly believe, and don't get me wrong, I love the human characters, but I feel like in a lot of Godzilla films, it's really not Godzilla that's the actual villain, it's humanity that's the villain, right? I mean, that's the central point of like the original film, right? So
Mhm.
we see like humanity acting in these violent ways towards the character, right? Even though Godzilla may not have a malicious intent. So, like I kind of consider that like it's not necessarily a mental health message, but I do think that people who have been othered, misinterpreted, or retaliated against in some way might be able to like find something in that. It may not be anything huge, but it might be something, right?
Mhm.
And then of course I can hear loudly the people who would be like, Donnie, you're way overanalyzing it. But you know what? I get paid to overanalyze things for a living,
There you go.
so I'm gonna do that. Um, Now, do you think it's corny or too much for a Godzilla film to address mental health?
I mean, considering we've gotten some corny stuff from Godzilla in the past, I think it would fit right in.
Right. Especially if we get something that's like more Showa style, for example.
Exactly.
Now, like I know there might be some people who would say that, well, we wouldn't want a Godzilla film to be focused entirely on mental health because that would take away from Godzilla, right? And I get that. But I don't think we've had any examples in the past where that's been a thing, right? At
I
least
don't
not
think
that I
so.
can think of off the
Yeah.
top of my head. Um, so like in future Godzilla films, how do you think mental health should be addressed or represented? It's kind of a broad
Um.
question.
Yeah.
I'm very good at those. If
You
you
are. You're too good at those for my own comfort. Um,
I'm introverted too, I swear.
oh, you're attacking me with these intellectual questions. I can't stand
Oh
it.
my god. um,
I guess so, like the easiest way to do it would be through the human characters somehow. Like maybe like have one of the human characters actually going through depression or anxiety or whatever. And
mhm.
then I don't know, maybe she finds comfort in Godzilla as well, maybe. Like
Right, yeah.
she sees him destroying things and she's like and then the character's like maybe like, "Oh, I want to destroy things too," or something along those lines, maybe.
And
I don't
then
know.
maybe throughout the whole thing discovering that like self-destructiveness or destructiveness isn't, the answer or something to
Yeah,
that effect. And
exactly.
yeah, I like that. I also like the way that they did it with the Kiryu saga too. Like I think more of that would be really good in the future. Um like characters who have gone through a trauma of sorts, who like their development throughout the film is understanding themselves better, or you know the other people around them accepting them despite you know, the trauma or mental health difficulties they've been through. Like obviously I would want it to be different enough where it's not like a carbon copy of, you know, the Cure saga, but
Mhm.
I really wish the MonsterVerse would have done more of that. Like I felt like there would have been plenty of potential for it because I don't think mental health was represented or addressed in any aspect that I
No,
can
I don't
recall.
think so, but I think I read somewhere in the novelization for Godzilla versus Kong, the character Madison has PTSD from the Ghidorah attack from the previous film, and I would have really liked to see that on screen. So
Yeah,
I
I
think
was
that they should do
pretty
more of that.
100% agree. Like I was pretty frustrated that they kind of sidelined her character a bit.
Yeah.
You know, like she was there, but she was just there to guide the camera to the monsters, basically.
Yeah, basically.
And I'm really like I feel like they could have done something better with her mom in Godzilla King of the Monsters. Like clearly she was grieving the loss of a child. That is
Mhm,
hella dramatic, you
mhm.
know. That could have been a little bit more involved, I would say. So, well, we are getting close to being finished with our conversation. So, we did have one final question that we wanted to pose to everyone today. And that is, what advice do you have for fellow kaiju fans who may be struggling with their mental health? Do you want me to go first for this one?
I mean, basically, do you want to go first? I see you dancing.
Sure, why not? Sure, why not? Um, my advice would be surround yourself with supportive people, especially if you can find supportive people in the fandom who might have mental health journeys of their own or who may at least be open to listening to a person's experiences, you know, like Leo says, and I love that, like you are valid, like reaffirming that your presence and your existence matters even though you may not think so. Just
Mhm.
yeah, RP says you matter as well. And to not like don't be ashamed of your love of these characters in films. I know that that's something that really gets a lot of people because there's still a lot of people who will shame others for really gravitating towards characters or films. And that can cause depression, that can cause anxiety, that can cause that feeling of otherness, right? Just know that there are people out there who do share that love of these characters in films with you. So, how about you? Kaiju Kim, do you have any advice?
Just general advice, like don't be afraid to get help. Don't, pay attention to the stigma. Like even if like someone shames you, like, oh, when are you getting therapy? Therapy's stupid. Because I've had that in my life, and that ain't it. But
Yeah,
don't be afraid to get help. Like it's mental health is just as important as physical health, like if not more so. Okay, like going to a therapist is no different than going to the doctor because you broke your foot or something. So just get help if you can afford it, and if you can't afford it, don't be afraid to reach out to the community, like Donnie was saying, because there are people who genuinely care about you, because
yeah.
yeah, we're all friends here.
Yeah, and and that creates us a support network. And sometimes that support network is so unbelievably crucial. Like I know I've had friends in the fandom that I've gone to where I've been like, I'm having a mental health crisis. They've been, you know, very open to listening, so on and so forth. And likewise, I've served in that capacity for others as well. So um and I think like I ultimately think that there cannot be enough conversations about mental health. And if we can tie in that conversation with something that we love dearly, like we did for the past 40 minutes or so, like I think there's something wholesome in that, you know? So before we leave, any plans for Halloween?
Not really. I am live streaming because I shameless self promotion. I I live stream every Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern time. This coming Sunday, I'm actually continuing the discussion of mental health and how it affects creativity. I'm going to be having Professor Kaiju on my channel, so that's fun.
Awesome. That's
Yeah.
so exciting. Yes, if you've not yet, go subscribe to Kaiju Kim's channel. Wonderful content. I will definitely be tuning in on Sunday to listen as well and to, gush in the comments like I do when I do tune in. So I am like Halloween day, I'm probably not going to be, I might dress up. I don't know. I'm going to just dress up and sit on my ass and then drink wine. Sip wine. I can
Yes, sit
literally, I
wine. You,
cannot.
you drunk already, hun?
I pretty much am. All right, dear friends, thank you so much for tuning in with us. And my dear friend Kaiju Kim, thank you so much for joining me tonight as well.
Aw,
And
thank you for having me.
always, and we will have more collaborations in the future.
Indeed,
So
we will.
have a good night. We love you all, and we will talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.